Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Lane Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, we've had a lot of good wins over the last 2 to 3 weeks, a lot of positive momentum nationwide for the Second Amendment and the advocacy of which we hold so dear. And every time we have a little bonfire party of happiness that's going in the positive direction, I feel like Colorado is always there to be the guy at the party who walks over and pees on the fire. Because they're peeing on my fire again, and this is not great. If you live in Colorado, this is something you need to share out. If you know someone who lives in or around Colorado, this is a message that needs to go out, because this is what happens when you pass ambiguous laws that are not written correctly. They can get redefined 21 years later to make you a felon overnight without you even knowing the circumstances. This article tells a lot. This is a ruling that came out on Thursday, and this is important because it speaks to exactly what the left is doing in all areas of gun control. They are trying to redefine existing laws written by legislatures through bureaucracies and judicial systems. That's their move. That's what they've been doing. If you don't believe me, look at the pistol band braces and the receiver braces. They're trying to reinterpret from the ATS perspective. We've talked about that a lot. But this is something to do in Colorado, and this has direct implications on every single gun owner in Colorado. I'm going to link it in the description box below, but I want to know what you guys think. All right, here we go. Ban on straw gun buys includes sharing weapons, so it's been reinterpreted. This really hits people. Pay attention, this is important. Colorado's straw gun purchaser ban not only applies to people who buy firearms for someone who isn't legally eligible to own or possess one, but also to anyone who shares guns with them, the Colorado Court of Appeals ruled Thursday. Okay, so that means not you sold a gun to somebody, or not they bought a gun for someone else, like the trafficking and the straw purchasing they're hitting so hard right now on a federal level and state level, to be honest. This is if you hand something to someone and they hand it right back. Listen to the language of this ruling. This is important. The law, this is the original law that was appealed, approved by the Colorado legislature in 2000 by a bipartisan group of lawmakers in response to the shooting at Columbine High School in Littleton a year earlier, makes it a Class 4 felony to purchase a firearm, then give or transfer it to someone who cannot legally own a weapon, such as a convicted felon. Now, we all know that a transfer is specifically a purchasing, a transferring of ownership. They've reinterpreted this law. Now it's a transfer of possession. Very, very important detail. Doing so is punishable by up to 6 years in prison, $500,000 fine. Any of you guys out there have a $500,000 bill laying around? Or got time for 6 years in prison because you handed someone something? Which is a constitutional right, by the way. Whew. All right, here we go. I might get spicy. I don't know. We'll see what happens. In 2018 case out of Adams County, a woman was convicted for purchasing a firearm that her common-law husband, a convicted felon, could access. So the idea is she can own a gun. It's in the same house. He's in the same house. He's a felon. That's now a straw purchase or an illegal transfer. That was the case. She was convicted. Well, they were appealing that case, and listen to what they said. And this is what makes it a landmark case for Colorado. Red flag, Colorado, just saying. In an appeal of that conviction, a 3-judge panel of the appeals court ruled in a precedent-setting opinion Thursday. That's the same as transferring a firearm to an ineligible person, even if it isn't a permanent transaction. That right there is the meat. Even if it's not a permanent transaction, because up until now, a permanent transaction requires the transfer. It would be like if someone asked to borrow your cell phone and you hand it to them, and now that's a transfer and they hand it back. Can I borrow your car? That's now a transfer. Now it's back. Anything in your life, that's considered a legal transfer now. That's different, but here's the part this is the part that sucks, okay? And this is why we don't do emotion-based lawmaking. And specifically in Colorado, the Republicans made sure there was no safeguards against this. Listen to how the law is written. This was 21 years ago. The law, which addresses private firearm transfers, includes a background check requirement for transfers or attempts to transfer firearms by persons who are not licensed gun dealers, Lipinski added. The language of those statutes indicates that the General Assembly did not carve out from the scope of the law temporary transfers of a firearm in the form of shared use. So they wrote in shared use, but they didn't write in temporary transfers, and they didn't clearly define it. This is 21 years ago. And this is what the left is doing. The left has people and lawyers like the gun control groups, like Moms Demand Action, Everytown for Gun Safety. All of these groups literally sit there in every single state and they look for loopholes. They look for ways to twist it and reimagine existing laws that are written and passed. Because it's just easier that way. They have now reinterpreted in Colorado the definition of transfer through the judicial system to where if you hand a gun to someone, that's now officially a transfer. Guys, Colorado clearly seems to be the front lines for the left attack on Second Amendment rights and gun rights overall. The rest of the country is really showing some promise, but for some reason, specifically Colorado, either they have weak Republicans, they have an influx of the leftists, I don't know what's happening, but it is being targeted. And if you live there, you guys need to get active because you are well on your way to being the next California or Colorado. You know what? It's almost getting synonymous at this point. That's what I've got for you guys tonight. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and until tomorrow, I'm Braden. See you later.